On the news tonight, number activities resumed at Taishalan University of Education few days after court clash. Organized labor appeals to Nigerian workers to exercise patience over the new national minimum wage as talks still on with federal government. Good evening, you are welcome to NTA Ijebu News at 7. I am Titi Layoke. Thanks for staying to us. Now the news and details. Peace has returned to Taishalan University of Education following the crisis that led to the death of a 400-level student last week. Anthony Gandonu, who visited the school campus for updates, reports that the earlier second semester examinations suspended for security reasons have also commenced. The report.
A visit to the campus and environs indicated that activities have picked up as students were seen in groups studying for the remaining papers which were suspended during the second semester examination as a result of the ugly incident. The acting Dean Students Affairs of the institution, Dr. Malik Olawale, while speaking with NTA News, pointed out that recalling the students was necessary for the interests of the students and the university community.
As you can see yourself, peace has returned to the campus, and definitely we have started the suspended examination. For us to maintain peace, we have to suspend every activities on campus so that we'll be able to at least control the situation.
Dr. Olawale, who confirmed that some arrests have been made, spoke on measures put in place to guarantee maximum security of lives and properties and to forestall any reoccurrence of the breach of peace in the campus.
We maintain internal security in which everywhere we have our security that personnel that man everywhere. Even as at the time of that incident, we still have our men at those exam hall, but the guy didn't write exam that day. He came to jubilate with those who just finished their final year exam.
Identifying some challenges faced by the institution, the acting dean appealed to the state government to prevail on the villagers to support some steps taken by the school authority to beef up security in around the campus.
Of recent now, almost 75% of the university has been fenced, but we could not totally fence it because of these adjoining communities. And that is where those guys, unknown government, use as a lobby.
It should be recalled that a 400-level student was reportedly killed by some unknown court members last week on the campus, which led to the suspension of the second semester examination. In Ijebu, Anthony Gandonu, NTA News.
In trying to achieve the United Nations targets of inclusive education by 2030, the federal government is working hard to overcome challenges standing in the way of meeting the goal. One of such is involving the private sector in the implementation of the Universal Basic Education Program. Engineer John Adams tells us more.
Data from the United Nations shows that years of underinvestment in education globally will produce about 84 million out-of-school children, while about 300 million will not be able to leave school by 2030. This is a clear departure from the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which centers around giving equal access to education for all. The federal government is collaborating with the organized private sector to ensure that 100% of school-aged children complete basic education armed with literacy, numeracy, and basic life skills that can aid their contribution to national development.
While government is doing its bit to support states and local governments in the area of basic education, it's also important for the private sector to see how it could get involved.
What new ideas are the private sector bringing? What is the need for private sector? And what is the sustainability agenda?
Investing in children's future through providing quality education, key players believe will empower them to become useful citizens.
We have the DOTS policy to encourage and promote qualitative learning and teaching for all Nigerian children.
we need the expertise and the resources of the organized private sector, either through investment, direct investment, or through corporate social responsibilities to help us fill the gap.
As the federal government continues to engage relevant stakeholders in its journey towards providing equal access to education for every child, it is believed that Nigeria will soon overcome the challenge of out-of-school children in the country. In Lagos, Henginu John Adams, NTA News.
The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, says it is compulsory for all candidates applying to study programs in tertiary institutions in Nigeria to use National Identification Number, NIN, for registration. Registrar of JAMB, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, in a statement said this was part of measures to checkmate the referrals activities of fraudulent characters scheming to compromise candidate records through clubhouse registration channels. He, however, directed that all prospective candidates in the non-regular category, including National Open University of Nigeria, now distance learning, part-time and sandwich programs must, through the use of NIN, create a profile code before registering with JAMB. Senate is working on a legislation that makes provision for the payment of compensation to victims of violence in Nigeria.
And enact the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, sponsored by Senator Issa Jibrin, highlights the need to create a victim support fund to cater to victims of violence and to make more stringent punishment for offenders.
There are instances where mental element is not needed, but only the physical element, which is all that is required to complete the offense. This therefore calls for a review to introduce elements of intention.
The idea of carnal knowledge of a minor, our consent in most jurisdictions is immaterial. Even in Nigeria, the penal code also states that consent is immaterial, because, like Senator Mongunu said, she may give consent, but she's not mature enough to understand what she's doing.
The bill has passed second reading and refers to Senate Committee on Justice, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action. Senate has adopted a motion urging government to address food insecurity and market exploitation of consumers in Nigeria. Senate during plenary confirmed the appointment of Dr. Matthew Olumide Adepoju as the Director General of the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASA, as requested by President Bola Tinubu.
The House of Representatives has asked the federal government to suspend implementation of the SAMOA agreement it signed with the European Union to boost food security and economic development.
A motion sponsored by Deputy Minority Leader Aliyu Madaki and 88 other lawmakers, the House notes that Article 97 of the agreement, which states that no other treaty can impede implementation of the agreement, is a supremacy clause that violates Nigeria's sovereignty.
Also worried that the phrase gender equality, as reported, is a Trojan horse for deceptively bringing in all sorts of immorality to our country, as gender no longer means sexes, male and female, as traditionally understood.
The ministers have come out, including information, budget and planning, in public to say there was nothing like that in the agreement. Go and Google your media. You will see the agreement, you will see there. That it was never mentioned, it was never discussed. There is nothing like lesbian rights or gay rights. It is about human rights, environmental protection, and trade agreements. Period.
What the executive has told Nigerians is actually the true position of the facts. That's all we're asking for. At this stage, we are not condemning or accepting whether LGBT is in the contract or not. But we want to know, we want to confirm, and we want to affirm.
And to address the resurgence of fuel queues in parts of the country, the House mandated its committees on petroleum resources, downstream and midstream, to carry out a legislative forensic investigation into depletion of fuel stock for domestic consumption.
The House is also disturbed about the allegation of the return of subsidy on downstream PMS products, or clarity about the exact landing cost of PMS, reduction in retail price, and its impact on downstream operations, allegation of importation of substandard products, and high sulfur diesel into Nigeria.
The organized labor is calling on Nigerian workers to exercise little patience over the new national minimum wage, as leadership of the workers' union are regularly engaging with the presidency to come up with an acceptable and considerate wage for all workers. The report.
President Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Festus Osifo, gave the updates to newsmen on the sideline of the maiden edition of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Women Conversation in Abuja.
Yes, conversation is on. We have not spoken with Mr. President directly, but we are speaking with the agents. We've had some conversations privately with agents of government, from the office of the SGF, from the office of the Minister of State Labor. So we've been having a lot of conversations, but I think it will culminate with an interaction with Mr. President, where we will also make our position known before he submits the bill to the National Assembly.
On gender inclusion in the industry, Festus Osifo, who is also the president of Pengasen, says employment and appointment of women into offices is remarkably improving, adding that women are playing significant roles in building and developing the industry, which is the country's major source of revenue.
Captains of oil and gas industries, they are women. When you come to offshore operations today, you have some women who are doing 14 days. They stay 14 days in the field, they go home for 14 days.
We are telling the world that we are not just women. We are women with competencies. We are women of intelligence. We are women who are ready to walk the walk and then, change narratives of women in the industry and Nigeria as a whole.
The firm focuses on appreciating the impactful contribution of women in the oil and gas business.
Still on NTA Jebu, the news at 7. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned.
NTA na ide do ogbonge thing. NTA atowe salute o. NTA na ide do ogbonge thing. NTA na baba. NTA Jebode, your heritage station.
You are welcome back. A significant milestone in disability advocacy has been achieved as TAF Africa and the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, formally signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU to promote inclusivity in public relations. Unga from Shaji Ungwanyi reports.
The signing of this Memorandum of Understanding marks a significant step towards enhancing the visibility and inclusion of persons with disabilities in the public relations sector. Through this collaborative partnership, TAF Africa and NIPR aim to promote a more inclusive society by advocating for the effective mainstreaming of persons with disabilities in public relations practice.
NIPR is very conscious of inclusivity in all its activities. But we believe that inclusion should be at 5 critical levels or 5 critical components. First is inclusion based on culture and tradition of the people.
So the level of appointment that reflects inclusion is abysmal and very, very worrisome. That is why one of the cardinal objectives of our relationship with NIPR is to strengthen our advocacy. We don't know as much as they do. We want to learn from them. There could be some scientific, more new method of engaging.
This initiative is crucial in highlighting the importance of disability inclusion in the public relations sector and promoting a more inclusive society. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji Ugwanyi, NTA News.
About 37 contractors handling the renewed Hope Road intervention project have been warned to mobilize and speed up work to meet up with the deadlines of phase contract termination. Minister of Works David Umahi gave this warning at a meeting with some contractors in Abuja. Abdullahi Mohammed reports.
Nearly 1 week after the coffins of some contracts for the dualization of Obajana Benin Highway were nailed, the hammers seem to be up again. This time, it's against some contractors who are lagging behind in the execution of the 260 critical roads being rehabilitated by the Renewed Hope movement. And now they have a tight deadline upon which they are expected to deliver or face the consequences.
The rule is that emergency projects, you go and they do it, 100%, and then you submit your papers. We now pay you 80% and send your documents to BPP. People are suffering. The president is having sleepless night how to help the people. And then we give people jobs and they are telling us stories. There have been jobs awarded by this ministry in the past, money paid, then the contractors help the money. Oh, there is insecurity.
Just as the Minister of Works stepped out of the meeting, an elder statesman in the company of a representative of the people came knocking.
We visited him to deliver a message from the executive governor of Kebbi State on the issue of Zuru Dabai Koko Road. The minister said we should give him 5 to 7 days. Inshallah, he will treat the letter with urgency and we will terminate the contract of that road.
Kebbi State is to benefit more than 250 kilometers of the Sokoto-Badagry Highway to be constructed by the Renewed Hope movement. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
That's all we have for tonight, but before we go, let's take a look at some of the major stories. We told you earlier that normal activities resumed at Staishola University of Education a few days after court clash. Organized labor appeals to Nigerian workers to exercise patience over the new national minimum wage as talks still on wait further government. That ends the news for tonight. We'll meet next time. I am Titilayoke. Good night.